So one of the things I've begun doing is exploring my world building. And this is kind of like the first time that I've done it. And, you know, what I really have been thinking about because I've been writing for so long. And, after a while, writing kind of got a little bit difficult. But, I was doing art as well. And so I kind of wanted to find a way to marry the two a little bit. And this is kind of like one of the, exploratory ways that I've been able to do that. And so this is, as you can see, the Observer's Notebook. I got this from the website called Jenny Bick. And I really I don't know if it was on clearance, so I don't know if that website has these anymore, but it's really just a regular notebook. But I thought it was interesting, and I thought that it would be really interesting to use. So one of the things I was watching a lot before I started to do this was videos on art journaling. And because I kept trying to figure out what is art journaling, and I still don't know if I fully understand what art journaling is. But, I thought, I wanted, like I said, I wanted to find an interesting way to develop ideas that I had, especially for fantasy novels. And so this was kind of what I came up with. So, you know, essentially, you just kind of do images and, you know, and write words. And, that's kind of, I don't want to show too much because, like I said, this is me developing a story. But, you know, because I had an idea. And so, I love to write fantasy and I don't mind that. But sometimes I kind of have a problem with sort of like seeing the world because there's so much work that has to go into the world building aspect and things like that. And so I kind of had this idea of a story that involved magic, and it's a modern story, but it kind of had a 1930s kind of vibe. And so, that really kind of meant doing, you know, maybe not a ton of research because it still is a fantasy story, but enough research to where I could get an understanding of what many of the buildings looked like, and sort of like the feeling and whatnot that you would get in that kind of world. And, as you can see, it's more like the 1930s European look than like what would be, the industrial kind of American look. But I kind of like how this worked out because, and I didn't even think about it at first when I first started doing it because, like the first page is sort of like the introduction because it made me think of the prologue that I ended up writing, where the prologue is very modern and it's bright, it's colorful. And then like when you think of like movies from the 1930s, you turn the page and then you kind of get that kind of like muted color. And so that was just really, it was really kind of interesting the way that I did it. And so exploration. Like this, I mean, this is for this one. I do have what I've been doing for the fantasy project that I've been working on the most. And if you'll give me a second, I can get that. And so for the other fantasy story that I've been working on forever, it wasn't really based on Earth as we know it. And so, I kind of went with a slightly different kind of exploratory. And this one, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned on this channel how much that's changed. It used to be a trilogy, so it was a, sort of like 3-act story structured, drafts had been written and I thought I knew where it was going. And then all of a sudden, things just shifted completely. And then I just kind of like felt lost and didn't know what to do. And now the story has expanded, from a trilogy to 5 stories. And, it's taking a lot more work than maybe the other one is going to take me. So this is a Khadi, Khadi. So it's a sketchbook or a watercolor sketchbook, I guess, that was created in India. And so basically, I really kind of like the process. Like they take cotton T-shirts and they kind of like strip them down and they make watercolor paper out of it. So you get 100% cotton paper. And so, yeah, that's the front. And then so this, of course, is much more me developing actual art for it because I just really needed something, that just kind of like helped me get some of the images out of my head and sort of on to paper. And it's kind of one of those things like I haven't finished doing everything, of course, but it's sort of like as it occurs to me, as it comes to me, like just being able to explore, and as I explore, kind of like the images that I'm seeing, and sort of some of the places where the story is going to take place, it just kind of allows me a bit to just be able to get it out on paper. And then, the hope is that as I explore sort of like the locations of the story and things like that, because of it is a different type of research. So as I explore that kind of research and get that kind of thing together, the hope is that, I'm going to be able to kind of like write the story as I see it. And that's kind of like the thing with the exploration, because this should be a quick video, because I mean, the subject of exploration in writing, or I guess in world building for writing, is one that I do find is extremely, it's extremely kind of personal in a way. It's personal, it's individual. It's not something that you can really kind of say, oh, this is the best way to do it, because it depends for each individual person. Like, I mean, as you can see, I have 2 different ways. I have, the way that where I'm doing my own kind of art, and I've done this like, and I've done art for, this series for this is going on the 3rd year now. So I kind of invested in that in this point. But the other story, like I said, because I can get more modern photos, I can get the modern photos, I can get the kind of vibe I'm looking for doing Google images and things like that. And, and because there's going to be a lot more writing now, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know that I necessarily know what I'm doing with this one anymore, which is probably why I've taken to this other one, because it's a brand new idea, and sometimes a brand new idea can just distract you from the old idea, and then you can work the kinks out of the old idea. But that's not the purpose of this video. It's, the purpose of this one is to just talk a bit about exploring and, kind of what I'm seeing as a reason to explore, because when you're developing a brand new world, and even if you're doing a story that is involving this current world, I think like just being able to explore and like get out images and draw things and, kind of like do, I guess, what would be kind of like mixed media art in a way. I think it can be a really interesting way of getting to know your world, because because writing period is about problem solving as an author. And like doing the sort of hands-on approach of problem solving is a really good way of just like kind of getting interested in your world and just developing something. And so, yeah, that's kind of something that I'm doing currently, that I've been doing for the months that I've been gone for the quarantine. So, it's something that I've taken on doing, that I'm interested about. And like, because it's so brand new in a way, and the stories that I'm working on aren't yet finished, I'll be interested to see how much it helps in the process, and so I guess to a degree it really is an experiment, because I want to see either way how helpful it is, how, if at the end it's not very helpful and it was just a distracting project, you know, then at least I tried something. But yeah, exploring world building options through art, I think, is something that's really, I think it's something that's a really good idea. And I think it's something that, even if you don't have the greatest of art skills, I think that just being able to put ideas down on paper and to just like draw lines or something like that, I think, as a writer, could be something really powerful to just help you problem solve what you're, like what's happening. So, yeah, that's gonna be this video. Yeah, because it's just something I found interesting. So, yeah, Jenny Bick, I got this. And I got this Cotty sketchbook on Amazon, but they do have the Cotty Papers website. I might do an actual review on this by itself, because I really kind of like this as a sketchbook, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I will see you on the next one.